My name is Raylan Ligon, and this is how to bake and frost a cake. If you've ever taken on the task of baking and frosting a cake and ended up with a pile of crumbs and icing instead, you can follow these tips to ensure that doesn't happen. First things first is going to be measuring your ingredients. I start with my dry ingredients. This usually consists of flour, baking powder, sugar, and salt. Accuracy is super key with this. You always want to make sure that your measurements are right. And then you'll just run those same dry ingredients through a fine mesh sieve or sifter. This gets you the smoothest batter possible. Then we'll move on to our wet ingredients. This is usually water or milk, butter or oil, and then extract or flavoring. Accuracy is still key here, and then you just whisk this to combine before you add those same wet ingredients into your dry ingredients. To do this, you'll just slowly pour in those wet ingredients into the dry, making sure to whisk as you go. Hand mixers and stand mixers are a great tool during this step. Then preheat your oven to 350 degrees, give or take. Some recipes call for more or less. While your oven preheats, you'll want to prepare your pans. You'll grease down your pans with either butter, oil, or cooking spray. Make sure it's in an even layer. And then I always take the added step of adding a tablespoon of flour, shaking around and tapping around my pan until it's fully coated in that flour. This ensures that your cake is super easy to pop out after the baking process is done. Then you can pour your batter into those pans and bake for 30 or 40 minutes. After that time is up, you'll want to do the toothpick test. To do the toothpick test, you'll just take a toothpick, insert it into the center of your cake. If it comes out clean with just a few crumbs, you are perfect. If it comes out with a little bit of batter on it, pop it into the oven for another 5 or 10 minutes and test again until the toothpick test is successful. Then we'll prepare to frost. The first step of this is to level and cool your cakes. I often level with just a serrated bread knife, but they do make cake leveling tools for this. You're just going to cut off that rounded top bit of your cake, and I'll always use my pan as a guide to be able to do this to make sure it is the straightest cut possible. Then just wrap in saran wrap, pop in the fridge, and let cool until super firm. While those cakes are cooling, you'll make your buttercream frosting. Buttercream is just a ratio of butter and sugar. It's a 1-to-2 ratio. So if you're using 2 cups of butter, you'll use 4 cups of powdered sugar. You'll want to beat that butter in a stand mixer for about 1 to 2 minutes and then slowly incorporate your powdered sugar. After your powdered sugar is fully incorporated, you'll add in your vanilla extract, and then your buttercream is done. Then you can move on to the crumb coat and frosting stage. So you'll start by stacking your cakes. You'll put a smear of buttercream down, pop your top layer on, and then add about a 1/2 inch layer of icing between each layer of cake. You'll repeat this until your cake is all done, and then you can move on to the crumb coat. You'll apply the frosting to the sides and the top of the cake, and then use a metal bench scraper or a straight edge to scrape it down until there's just a very thin layer of cake on the top and the sides. Then you'll pop that in the fridge until the crumb coat's really nice and firm and move on to the final icing layer. The process for this is similar for the crumb coat. You'll just want a much thicker layer of icing. So then you'll take that same metal bench scraper or straight edge. You'll want to scrape down your sides first until it's really nice and smooth, and then you'll be left with a little bit of excess on the top edge. To get rid of this, I always hold my uneven spatula at a 90-degree angle, scraping from the outside in, like in this photo, and that's how you're always going to get the most smooth product for your cakes. Pro tip, if you run that metal bench scraper under some hot water, that will allow for the absolute smoothest texture on the outside of your cakes. So my best tips and takeaways are to always accurately measure your ingredients, sift your dry ingredients to get the smoothest batter possible, always coat your pans with grease and flour, and never ever skip the crumb coat. If you follow these steps, you'll never be left with that pile of crumbs and icing again. Thank you.